He had an opportunity to fight to balance the budget, to bring fiscal responsibility to the state. He had an opportunity to bring ethics reform to Springfield and clean up the mess that he and Rod Blagojevich had caused. And let me ask you a few questions. Did Rod Blagojevich bring fiscal responsibility to Springfield, Illinois? No. Did Rod Blagojevich reform the culture of corruption we have in Springfield, Illinois? No. Has Pat Quinn governed the state of Illinois on behalf of you all? No. Let me tell you what Pat Quinn has done. Pat Quinn has surrendered to the Springfield aristocracy. And let me tell you, what do I mean by Springfield aristocracy? It's pretty simple. We'll get there in a second. Since 2002, folks, the Democrats have controlled the state Senate. They've controlled the governor's mansion. They've controlled the House of Representatives. What was that name again? Mike Madigan has been in the House of Representatives for 40 years. He's been Speaker of the House for 28 of the last 30 years. Let me tell you, where I come from in the private sector, after 40 years, you get a pat on the back, you get a gold watch, and you retire. I think someone just offered to buy the watch. Let me tell you something, I think the state of Illinois would have bought the watch, but because of Mike Madigan and Pat Quinn, we can't afford the watch. Folks, speaking of affording a watch, let me tell you a funny little story. I'm from Edwardsville, about 15 minutes from St. Louis. There's a town about 40 minutes from me called Vandalia, Illinois. And you may not know it, but the state capitol used to be in Vandalia, Illinois. The old Capitol building is still standing, and I was taking a tour of the old Capitol building with Bill Brady. And we were walking around the building with a lot of volunteers, supporters, and some school kids. And the tour guide, she said, in this room is where the state treasury used to be. And sure enough, there was a lockbox, a lockbox with a case where they used to keep all the state's money. And she said in the 1830s, there was a national depression that was so bad that there was only $94 left in the lockbox. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, $94. And then I was standing in the back and I said, well heck, they're doing a lot better than we are today. Yeah. folks, what we have seen for the last 8 years in Springfield has been embarrassing. It's been absolutely embarrassing. I noticed Bobby Jindal earlier, he mentioned that New Jersey used to lose students much quicker than they attracted new people to Louisiana. Illinois' number one export is agricultural products. Anybody want to know what our number 2 export is? People. People, especially college students. And when you're exporting and sending the future out at the rate the state of Illinois is, I think that paints a pretty bleak picture for what we have coming unless we change it. You know, we had 3 governors up here, wonderful governors. And throughout the course of the campaign, we've had other governors here. We had Jeb Bush has been here, obviously Bobby Jindal, Bob McDonald, Bobby Jindal, a lot of good folks have been here. And in fact, I was standing back there and I think they were pretty amazed because they've seen all these Illinois politicians come up here speaking and they kept saying, where in the world is the teleprompter? You know, folks, but these people come here because they see the same things we see. They see a lot of opportunity in Illinois. They see failed government, failed policies that's ruined a wonderful place. In fact, you know, I haven't told this story for a long time, but Pat Hughes was in the crowd and he said, you know what, will you tell this story for them? I said, sure. And I used to talk about this in the primary. It's a true story. My family were in the lumber business. I was in Indiana and I was talking to some folks who were in the business and they introduced me to a wholesaler from New Jersey and they said, Jason's running for Lieutenant Governor. And the girl from New Jersey said, oh, Lieutenant Governor of Indiana. I said, no, Lieutenant Governor of Illinois. And she said, I kid you not, I'll never forget her words. She said, why on earth would you run for Lieutenant Governor of Illinois? That state is so corrupt. Ladies and gentlemen, when the good people of New Jersey call Illinois corrupt, I think it's clear we've gone the wrong way. Well, fortunately, when Bill Brady's cleaning up the state of Illinois, there's a good man in New Jersey named Chris Christie doing the same thing. Folks, you've heard about all the issues. You've heard about all the issues. You've heard about the budget deficit. You've heard about the unemployment. You've heard about the corruption. Now here's the simple question. What are you going to do about it? You're going to vote. But Bill Brady's working hard. All these other candidates are working hard. Illinois is a battleground this cycle. We don't just need you guys to vote. There was over 1,000 people here today. I don't view you all as over 1,000 people that are going to go vote on November 2nd. I view you as over 1,000 people that for the next 6 days are going to go to church, you're going to go to work, you're going to go to the Friday night football games, you're going to be in your neighborhood, you're going to be in the grocery store, and you need to communicate to absolutely every person you come across how important this election is, educate them on the issues, educate them on the candidates, and make sure they show up on November 2nd. If each one of you talk to 10 people, you're not 1,000 people voting on November 2nd. You're 10,000 people voting on November 2nd, and that's what we need. And here's one other thing. If I was the governor of the state of Illinois and I was running on my re-elect, I would hope I would be able to talk about issues of importance, issues people cared about, maybe talk about a few of my accomplishments while in office. If you've noticed, Governor Quinn isn't talking about those things. Governor Quinn wants to tear down his opponents because he doesn't have a record to run on. We're not going to run on negative campaigns. We're running a positive campaign. We're talking about the future. We're talking about opportunity. And we're talking about where we're going to take Illinois over the next 4, 8, 10, and 20 years. I need you all to do the same thing. I need you to deliver a positive message because let me tell you, on November 2nd, we're not just going to win the governor's mansion. We're not just going to win other statewide offices here in Illinois. We have an opportunity to retire, what was that name again? Retire Mike Madigan. And let me tell you, where it's going to start is Will County, Illinois. It's where it's going to start. We need huge numbers out of Will County. We're going to do well in Cook County. We're going to exceed expectations in Cook County. But we need to do well in DuPage. We need to do well in Kane and Kendall and Lake and McHenry and Will County. Because in the suburbs here, when you guys build that firewall and we start beating the numbers coming out of Cook County, I'm from this place called Downstate. And you ain't seen nothing yet. Because let me tell you, there's an interest, all the polls show we're up, right? All the polls, 4, 6, 8 points, whatever. They don't matter, but they show we're up. And then Pat Quinn releases a poll. It says we're tied. And everybody starts digging into the data, and they say, well, Governor Quinn, the reason why your poll says that you guys are tied is because you forgot the poll downstate Illinois. And you know what his campaign said? His campaign said, well, that doesn't matter. Nobody lives down there anyway. Folks, on November 2nd, they're going to find out there's a whole lot of people downstate. There's a whole lot of people in Will County. There's a whole lot of people in Illinois, and we're going to deliver change on November 2nd. Thank you very much.